Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. We're already in April, and as we see, time just flies, and I think so does our life. So let us all engage in first singing Jai Radha Madhava before we go to the class to build the mood of Vrindavan before we start our class. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. So let us chant the pranam mantras before we get into reading Bhagavad Gita. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा, श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So today's verse is also from chapter 9, and this verse is repeated twice in the Bhagavad Gita, once in chapter 9 and once in chapter 18. It is a very important verse. It is very simple to understand, but we have to cultivate the practice to be able to live what is in this verse.
Hare Krishna, Sarnamanjal Mataji.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Your volume is little low.
Okay, give me 1 second. Is this better?
Keep talking, Mataji.
Is this better, or do you want it higher?
Little better, little higher would be good.
Okay, now is it better? This is the highest my...
I think this is better, I think.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm going to put it to the highest, and if it gets too loud, please let me know. And for those who are on your laptops, you can adjust the volume anyway.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, where is my screen share? Okay. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayana. Manmana, always thinking of me. Bhava, become. Mat, my. Mat bhakta, my devotee. Mat yaji, my worshipper. Mam, unto. Me, unto me. Namaskuru, offer obeisances. Mam eva, unto me completely. Eshyasi, come. Yuktva, evam, being absorbed. Atmanam, your soul. Matparayana, devoted to me. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind, always thinking of me. Offer obeisances and worship me. Become completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. Would anybody, can I get 2 volunteers who would like to recite this verse and read the translation also?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Samanvita wants to recite.
Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktevam atmanam matparayanaha.
Very nice, Samanvita. Anyone else?
Manmanam bhava madbhakto madhyajnamam namaskuru mame veshyasi yuktevam atmanam matapura parayana.
Thank you so much. So as this verse says, engage your mind, always thinking always in thinking of me, offer obeisances and worship me, become completely absorbed in me, and you will surely come to me. When I read this verse over and over again, it sounds very simple. We have to be constantly thinking of Krishna, paying our obeisances, bowing down before Krishna, worshiping Krishna. And that way, our life will be completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Our consciousness will be completely with Krishna, and we will go to Krishna. So, like many things, when in a practical way, a lot of us who, are worried or are trying to lose weight, we know it is very simple. Two fundamental things when it comes to losing weight: control your diet and exercise. So even though it is so simple, majority of the people who are attempting to do it are not able to. And the reason for that is discipline of the mind. Likewise, when we are struggling to always remember Krishna at all times, no matter what, being completely absorbed in Krishna, the biggest thing is controlling the mind, the discipline of the mind. So the day we can build that discipline of the mind, and it has to be cultivated, it is not something that many of us may have naturally in us. There are many habits that when we are born, we don't have those habits, and we have to cultivate those in order to perfect them. And in my experience, any kind of study and any kind of rigor that we want in driving perfection has to be practiced regularly, has to be with some discipline, and has to have that drid nischay, that the determination to do something. So before I go into where my experience comes in, most important, as I've always said, we have to read Prabhupada's purport, because his purports are simply, they remove any doubts in our mind. And that is why reading and absorbing the purport is very important. There are times we have to read the purport several times to absorb what Prabhupada wanted to say. So, reading directly from Srila Prabhupada's purport, in this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means, and I've highlighted this, is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is the absolute truth. His body, mind, and he himself are one, no different, and one and absolute. As it is quoted by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhasya comments of Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter Adi Leela, verses 41 to 48. Deha dehi vibhedo yam neshware vidyate kvachit, which means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because they do not know the science of Krishna, the commentators hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading other people. So it's very important to follow what Srila Prabhupada said. There is no difference between Krishna's mind, Krishna's body, and Krishna himself, and Krishna's name. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously. So classic example is just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety when Krishna would come and kill him. That kind of thinking does not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love for Krishna. And we can love Krishna in any way. We've seen from so many examples. Some people love Krishna as their son, some as their friend, some as their lover. There are so many forms in which you can build your relationship with Krishna. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continually. So, like I was saying before, cultivating this knowledge and cultivating this practice is very important. That is the biggest bridge that we have to cross between knowing and doing. And for us to cover that gap between knowing and doing, we have to cultivate this practice. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Why bona fide teacher? So you think of it when we go to college, the professors there, they are required to be PhD with this level of experience and all of that, because their knowledge of the subject is far greater than what they are going to teach to the students who've come to do their bachelor's or master's. And likewise, even spirituality cannot be just learned from anyone. It has to be learned from a bona fide teacher, somebody who is qualified, somebody who knows the truth and who can then impart that knowledge to you. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but it is eternal, blissful knowledge, Satchidananda. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. So the more we associate with the right company, the more we are going to advance on our devotional path. Otherwise, understanding Krishna from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the supreme. He should engage himself in worship. So we have to have that faith conviction that yes, Krishna is supreme. It doesn't matter what 50,000 people come and tell you or tell me. And there are many people, and I've said this before also, even in our own families and friend circles, we have people who will come and put a new theory in front of us. It's like, okay, you have one choice to listen to them, but there is a risk in listening to them because you also have a chance of getting influenced. And you have another choice of saying, this is not a topic I wish to discuss. If they are not willing to hear you out and only want to preach something which is not true, I know a lot of people who say there is no person called Krishna, and they'll say all those things. And I say, stop, pause. We don't want to engage in that kind of debate or deliberation. I know I have learned from my spiritual master, and he has learned from his spiritual master, and that all the way is in the disciplic succession. So we can choose to either influence them and preach them, or we can choose to not listen to them. So it is very important that we engage our mind, our body, our actions in the right way, because that is what will lead to the right outcome. So we have to have conviction in the heart that Krishna is supreme. Anybody who says Krishna is not supreme, don't pay attention, because the day you start thinking that way, you're going to start weakening you're going to have weakness in your heart, and you're going to start saying, maybe not, maybe this. And of course, if we have questions about how is Krishna supreme, we should definitely bring that question to our bona fide, what they say, bona fide teachers, our gurus, our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada's books, all of that. So whatever we learn should come from the right source, otherwise it is fruitless. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. What do we do when we reach the temple? We bow down and we offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. that will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to the Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. We sing Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasya Re Pujana Sakhi Jana Atma Nivedana Pujana Sakhi Jana Atma Nivedana Govinda Dasa Bhilasya Re. Start. Many processes are there, but it starts with hearing and chanting. And hearing and chanting is especially important in this age, because it is going to make our process of reaching Krishna Loka very easy. Even when we chant, we want to hear what we are chanting. It is very important. Remember, our soul has migrated so many lifetimes and so many bodies. So cleansing of the soul is very important. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, very important. And that cleansing comes with hearing and chanting. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. In the 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita, pure devotional service to the Lord has been explained apart from the yoga of knowledge and the mystic yoga of fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. And this is still the purport which I'm reading, so I'm going to continue. It is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. Award. So it is not easy. We know how hard getting awards is, and getting that award of being with Krishna is not easy. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be the perfectly saintly person. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish. Yes, it takes time. It takes time for us to, progress in the journey. And he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Lord personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. The college admissions have been out last week, all the final college admissions. So, in the headlines, you keep seeing, okay, Harvard has this acceptance rate and Stanford has this acceptance rate. The other day I was thinking it would be nice, if, why do these universities attract people? Because they publish these acceptance rates and show how hard it is. But what would be acceptance rate for Krishna Loka? Okay, now of course there's no marketing here, so obviously we don't have, or no, Krishna is not publishing any acceptance rate. But I would think, and this is just my I'm taking my material knowledge and trying to think how, with my limited material knowledge, I can understand. I'm like, actually, the more and more I think about it, the acceptance rate or admission in Krishna Lok, if we follow what is given us, the good thing is we know exactly what it takes. Okay, in the material world, you do not know exactly what it takes to get into whatever, whether it's a job or a university. But Krishna has made this so easy for us that we know exactly what it takes to get admission in Krishna Lok. Now it's only our effort and the purification of our heart with which we make these, with which we, surrender and accept everything that Krishna gives us favorably or unfavorably, that we can make this journey and we can get admitted to Krishna Lok. So my thinking is, it's actually easier than what it looks. However, the discipline of the mind and the control of the mind is the one thing we have to do. Do we do that in the material world? Yes, we do. Even if you don't want to work one day, you have to show up. You have to do your job. You have to complete your assignments for those who are in school. If you want to get that good award, like they say. Likewise, this is also the same, that we have to get, they say he will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna, being with Krishna. So we can also achieve that award, but we just have to focus. Anything that we have to do well, we have to focus, we have to be determined, and we have to follow. We have to follow the instructions and the instructions of spiritual master. And here, the instructions that Krishna gave to Arjun, which are being passed to us, that engage your mind, offer obeisances, worship me, be absorbed in me, and you will surely come to me. We have the formula. Krishna has given the peace formula. Krishna has given the formula for us to go back to him. He's given us everything. And Krishna doesn't change his mind that I'm going to make a change. Now the admission criteria is going to change because we have too many candidates applying. That doesn't happen for Krishna. So we just have to understand this is actually easier than it looks. It's just that we have to apply it sincerely from the heart and follow the instructions, with faith that yes, our Guru Maharaj or Srila Prabhupada has given us these instructions and we're going to follow. They are in the disciplic succession. Who would know better than them? So we just have to follow it. Continuing, the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. Everything. I mean, initially I would, I would see people even sneeze and they would say, Hare Krishna. Wouldn't understand that. But what that practice is doing is, it is constantly getting you, for the smallest of things, you're thinking of Krishna. My mother is getting old, so she's forgetting things, where she keeps things. So she'll start calling Krishna, help me, remember me, remind me where I kept this thing. So I told her one day, why do you keep bothering Krishna for little things? Krishna has bigger things to do. She's like, no, I'm not bothering him. I'm remembering him. There's a difference. And the more I remember him deliberately, consciously, the more I will remember him at the time of death. The chances are increased, right? I said, yeah, now that makes sense. Earlier, I would think that, God is like, president. He has so many important things to do. Why should we disturb him for everything? And why should we keep calling him to help us for every little thing? That is not right. But my thinking evolved after I heard that. And I said, this is one way of continuously remembering Krishna. So the most confidential part of knowledge, and this chapter 9 is actually the most confidential knowledge, this chapter, is that one should become a pure devotee and always think of him and act for him. Of course, we don't just keep thinking of Krishna, Krishna help me, Krishna help me. We also have to do that reciprocation, and that relationship has to build. Any relationship is two-way. Krishna is always willing. Krishna has always told us he's there for us. We have to now take those steps to build that relationship and act for him. Life should be so molded that one will always have a chance to think of Krishna, no matter what. Find a way to think of Krishna. Okay, and that's how your lifestyle will be. If our lifestyle is, going to the bar and watching movies and doing all that, where is the time to think of Krishna? We have to regulate our lives. And that is why we follow regulative principles, because we regulate our lives so that we are engaged in activities that help us think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. Start your day with Krishna, end your day with Krishna. Between your day, think of Krishna. It is not difficult, it is a practice. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he cannot but think of Krishna. I know this is, this is hard, but it's practice and practice and practice, and someday we will get there. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. So this reminded me of chapter 8 verse 5, where we say, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavan yati nasti atra samshaya. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. I mean, this is the truth. For us to invest our time, energy, consciousness, activities, this is where it will take us, because Krishna has promised. And unlike human beings who can break their promises, Krishna does not do that. So, very easy to understand. Effort is required. Effort, sincerity, faith is required to get to that point. But the more and more I think about it, I think it is not as hard as people make it to be, or, people fear that it will be. It is actually easier. And the more you practice, the more you will believe that this is getting easier and I have to keep doing it. And we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about, oh, will this take me to Krishna? Or will I land there? We don't have to worry. That is Krishna's job. And he does his job perfectly. There is no doubt that Krishna does his job perfectly. So we just have to worry about what instructions we are receiving and how we are following them. Everything else he will take care of. We see even the ants find a way to live, right? They are not going for a job and accumulating wealth and, paying bills and doing all of that. Every animal, every creature has their way to live because Krishna takes care. We just have to have faith. It doesn't matter how many lifetimes it takes. We just want to be on this path. There is no, and in Shikshashtakam, he said, it doesn't matter. Favorable, unfavorable doesn't matter. We have to know that whatever is happening, it doesn't matter, good and bad. We just have to be with Krishna at all times. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna. The very form with two hands carrying flute, bluish boy, beautiful face, peacock feathers in his hair. I mean, think of, I know you have that picture in my background, the beautiful Krishna. Just think of Krishna, your wallpaper, wherever possible, surround yourself in such a way that you're seeing Krishna, thinking of Krishna, doing everything. While you're cooking, you're thinking of Krishna. Then you offer it to Krishna. Then you eat, you think of Krishna. So just make, like Prabhupada said, mold your life in such a way. These are descriptions of Krishna found in Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix your mind on this original form of Krishna. So one thing somebody taught me is when you're chanting, the mind wanders. Undoubtedly, the mind wanders. Fix your mind on whatever form of Krishna that you are most attracted to. Keep that picture in front of you, whether it's on your laptop or whether it's on an actual picture, and look at that picture. Try to meditate. Chanting is nothing but meditating on the form of the Lord. So by doing so, it gets us closer and closer, and we start enjoying, we get the taste of chanting. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi-forms such as Vishnu, Narayan, Ram, Vara, so many, we know so many incarnations. Don't bother. Just focus on the original form of Krishna. And a devotee should concentrate his mind on that form that was present before Arjuna, the two-handed form. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of the knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend. So you see, in when Krishna recites, repeats this verse in chapter 18, he's saying, Manmana bhava mat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te ratijani priyosi me. At that time, Krishna tells Arjuna, I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. And why was Arjuna such a dear friend to Krishna? Because he did everything that we are being asked to do. And he had full faith in favorable and unfavorable situations. He always thought of Krishna. He fully surrendered to Krishna. Whatever Krishna said, he did. He paid obeisances. His mind was constantly engaged. And that's when Krishna is saying, you are my most dear friend, and we can all become Krishna's dear friend if we do what Arjuna did. And this is just a summary of chapter 9. And I know a few weeks ago also I talked about chapter 9. So for some of you, this may be a repetition, but as they say, repetition does not ruin the prayer. So the more we repeat, the more we study and understand, the more we absorb. The process of devotional service, the chapter 9 teaches us that the process of devotional service is a very happy one. Susukham. When we go to the temple, we always see people dancing, singing, happy. It's almost like, what has happened for somebody who's come to the temple the first time and they see this, they're like, wow, what are these people? How are they so happy? Because the process it gives us happiness. It is food for the soul. It nourishes the soul. And you know how a plant blooms when it gets the right nourishment. Likewise, our soul also blossoms when it gets nourishment. Devotional service consists of, we already said, the 9 processes of bhakti, shravan, kirtana, and hearing and chanting are very, very important. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord or attend philosophical lectures on the transcendental knowledge given by our authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Right? We're all sitting in either the temple or in different parts, but there is learning. You can sit and read, you can sit and listen to classes, and you learn. Then one can eat remnants of the food offered to God. We love prasadam, and there are many stories, including mine, which started with prasadam. So, and we enjoy eating that. So that is also purification. And in every state, devotional service is very joyful. It brings joy to the soul. In fact, when you look at, I know there are these happiness index for each country that they run, and the happiest countries are not the richest countries. Okay, there is more affluence and wealth in some other parts of the world, but those are not the happiest, because happiness is connected to the soul. And only when the soul feels happy, we feel happy. Other than that, it is just ups and downs that we have, highs and lows of emotions. But happiness is from the soul, internal. That's why they always say happiness is not something that should be dependent on external factors. Happiness comes from within. And this is not even connected to Krishna consciousness when they say happiness comes from within. Where is that within? It is from the soul. And the more we take care of our soul, The more we nourish the soul, what does the soul need? The soul does not need a new Apple or iPhone, or the soul does not need a Tesla. The soul needs Krishna. And when the soul receives Krishna, the soul feels happy. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. We know Sudama, he executed devotional service with, in the most poverty-stricken situation, right? But his faith and his happiness was never deterred because of his material condition. And how can we do it in practical? Yes, the Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, you can offer me anything with love. Whatever you offer me with love, okay, I will accept it. Even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or little water, whatever is available to you. Devotional service is not dependent on your bank balance. Devotional service is not dependent on how much you contribute to the temple. Those are all separate things. Devotional service comes from the heart, where your mind is engaged. So regardless of anybody's social position, whatever you offer to Krishna is accepted with love. You offer little, Krishna will accept that. You offer a lot, Krishna will accept that. And little and lot are actually very relative, because what may be little for somebody may be a lot for somebody else. And many, many years ago, somebody had told me, Krishna doesn't see what you give, Krishna sees what you keep. So it's really not about, I made a donation of X $1,000, but I could have made a donation of X plus something. And again, this is an evolution. Nobody should feel bad that I need to now suddenly start doing more. It will naturally come. It will come from the heart. Krishna will call on you through another devotee, and you will automatically feel the pull. So, but what we can do with intention, with the right intention in a more deliberate manner, is the activities. Engage our mind. Okay, think of Krishna. Start your day with Krishna, end your day with Krishna. During the day, think of Krishna, offer food to Krishna, offer even your material success to Krishna. When you have material failures, ask Krishna, what can I do? Because this is something I'm undergoing because of my past karma. What can I do today? And you will get the answer. Whenever, and I can just speak for myself, but whenever I have sincerely called and asked Krishna, I'm in a dilemma, what should I do? Within, a few, whether it is sometimes minutes or sometimes hours or sometimes days, but I get the direction. Because we are not asking for specific, we're not saying, I want this Harvard admission. No, that's not what I'm saying. We're saying, show us the path, guide us. You've already been so kind to us. You've already been so grateful to us. You've already been so gracious to us that you've given us your association, devotee association, temple. We are one of the few people on planet Earth who know about you, are engaged in your service. So thank you so much. Guide me what I should do in this case. And Krishna will guide us. So make it a lifestyle habit. Like they say, you can't lose weight and exercise just for 6 months and then eat all junk food and maintain that. You can't, right? They always say it has to be a lifestyle habit. Just like that, thinking of Krishna has to be a lifestyle habit, and you have to start introducing it. Like we said, you have to cultivate that habit. Some of our temple devotees' children are blessed because they are born in those families where those habits are naturally being cultivated. Others who have come to Krishna consciousness have not had that experience, and they are now working on cultivating. But cultivating that cultivating that practice is extremely important. And even if in the beginning, like I was reading about chanting, and they said that, even if you are making offenses, don't stop chanting. Keep chanting and try to chant with the intention and with the effort to remove those offenses. But it doesn't mean that if I'm chanting with offenses, I should now stop chanting. No. It is practice, it is sadhana. And anything that you need to perfect, any skill, you have to keep practicing, following the instructions, remembering the rules of the game, and then move forward. So essentially, we're coming to, I think this is a very easy verse, but at the same time, we just need to understand how to follow this verse. So there isn't a lot of explanation more than what I have shared. The one thing I would say is this verse was repeated twice in Bhagavad Gita. This is the only verse that was repeated twice. So let's take this seriously, because if there is something of 700 verses, this is the only repeated verse. That means this is extremely important. We have to take it seriously. We have to follow everything that Prabhupada gave in the purport and what we've learned from our acharyas on this verse. Always engage your mind, always thinking of me. Figure out how should you mold your life to always think of Krishna. Become my devotee, come to the temple, offer devotion, offer service. Matajis are doing cooking service, offer service to Guru Maharaj, offer service to the deities, whether it is through charitable contributions, whether it is through physical effort, book distribution, so many ways of becoming devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. And then in 1866, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Parittajya, sarva dharman parittajya. Parittajya means abandon. All other, forms of religion, abandon. Just surrender to me. Surrender means what we did in the verse before. Manmanabhav madbhakto, engage your mind in becoming my devotee, engage your mind in me, become my devotee, offer obeisances, offer service, and be completely absorbed in me. So surrender is that. Okay, and surrender is also that no matter whether I have favorable or unfavorable outcomes in my life, I'm still going to have that conviction and faith in my heart that Krishna is supreme and I am only going to follow Krishna. That is surrender. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Why is Krishna saying this? Because with how many sins we have accumulated from life after life, it's not easy for us to get rid of those sinful reactions, even though we suffer for our sinful reactions. But really, can we get rid of all of those? Not possible. There are so many sinful actions that we do even unknowingly. So there's no way that we can have a mechanism of getting rid of all our sinful reactions. It's Krishna's mercy. And that mercy will come when we do what we said in 1865 or 934, the verse that we just talked, and we surrender to Krishna. Then Krishna will show his mercy on us. No parent wants to punish their children. No parent. And for all of you who are parents, you know that. We love our children. We love them unconditionally. But there are times we have to hold the line. And we have to say, no, this is not acceptable until you mend your ways. I'm not going to give you the same that you were expecting before this. So you have to mend your ways because we want them to be righteous. So, and when we start seeing that there is so much effort this child is putting, we don't hold every single misaction against them. We give them the benefit of doubt. Okay. And that way Krishna says, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Like I said, we don't have to worry about what is going to happen next. Are we going to get to Golok Vrindavan? Are we going to be reborn? Are we going to go here? We don't have to worry about that. That is not our department. Okay, Krishna does his job perfectly. Let him do his job. We just need to focus on our job. Results will automatically come. There is no bias in the system. Unlike many other material systems where there is bias, this is one where there is no bias. It is purely the consciousness, and only you and Krishna really know this. Nobody else knows. From the outward world, people can say, oh, this person is a great devotee and this person is not such a great devotee, and be judgmental. But reality is this is only between you and Krishna. So only you and Krishna know. Nobody else needs to know also. Okay. Everything else is only, our material transactions. We really need to take this seriously. I think every verse in Bhagavad Gita, one way or the other, is teaching us how to go back to Krishna Loka. And even though there are 700 verses, there are some key verses that deliver this message. And as long as we understand, adopt the message, inculcate all of that in our lives, we will get to our destination. So to summarize, what is our learning from this verse? So it says, engage your mind, always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances, being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. So the first learning is the Lord wants every living entity to always think about him, to become his devotee and to worship him. And we have to cultivate this. Very important. Actually, human life is meant for conquering this insurmountable, very important process of birth and death. So it's not easy to conquer this cycle of birth and death. But that is what human life is meant for. Durlabha manava janama satsange. So this human life is very rare. It doesn't appear to us that way because we see humans all around us. But when we read and we understand how many species in the world are there and how many universes are there, then we know this human life is very, very precious. So that is what human life is meant for. The mind has to be engaged in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord in order to execute devotional service. Why lotus feet of the Lord? Because we have to build humility. Trinadapi sunichena. We have to be humble. You cannot go to Krishna and say, hey Krishna, I need entry in Krishna Loka. It doesn't work that way. We have to, the process of learning starts with humility. You offer obeisances. Why do we bow our head? The head is the top of the body. Okay, the head is where the brain is. The reason we bow our head to the deities is to express our gratitude, to bring humility in us. Okay, and to get blessings. So it's the mind has to be engaged on the lotus feet of the Lord, because we don't have the ability to reach the Lord directly. We have to go through the process. This can be done, as stated here, Mama Bhaja. One should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Think of the Lord, engage in the devotional service of the Lord. And then lastly, the learning is the main business of human society is to think of the Supreme Personality of Lord at all times, become his devotees, worship him, and bow down before him. I think there is nothing easier in the whole Bhagavad Gita than these two verses, Manmana Bhav Madbhakto, 1865 and 1866. These are the two verses. If we can just follow what these two verses say, our life will reach a point of perfection and we will get entry into Krishna Loka. So I'm going to pause there. I know it's been an hour that I've been talking. Any questions?
Thank you, Mataji. That's a wonderful lecture. Okay, so devotees, I request you to raise your hand, and if you have any questions or comments, only one question due to the limited time. So if you have any question or a comment, the first person get chance. Anybody have question?